Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Love It or Shove It, where we talk about love, relationships, how do we develop best relationships with ourselves and with the people that we love. And we've been a few weeks out from this conversation, so we are back and we are very much excited to continue this connection with you guys. And today is a very interesting topic because we always say that a lot of times we want the love, we want the connection. But what if that love that we say that we want requires something even more vulnerable than opening our heart? What if it requires letting someone actually know us for who we are, not the version that we are presenting to the world, not something polished, not something that always easygoing, that says I'm fine, not that version that keeps the desires quiet so nobody feels pressured. But real intimacy is asking us, can you tell me what you feel, what you want, what matters to you, and allow me to have my own reaction to it? Because being loved and being truly seen are not always the same thing. So that's exactly what we are going to explore today. But before we dive in, let's just introduce ourselves. My name is Irina Portnova, and I'm all about manifestation. How do we actually create something conscious? How do we create that image of that person that we truly want to attract in our life? Or if we already have that partner, how do we develop a greater connection, stronger connection, something that we can rekindle that flame? And I'm here today with my co-host Bruno Gill. Bruno.
Yes, hi everybody, my name is Bruno. I am a self-love coach. I work primarily with women, helping obviously with confidence, self-love, be more authentic, and become the person that you desire to be.
All right. So let's have the conversation. Why being loved starts with letting yourself be known. Because if someone can adore the version of us that we present to them, but intimacy deepens when they begin meeting the real version of ourselves, who we are beneath, and what are our dreams, what are our preferences, what are our desires, and the things that excite us and the things that disappoint us. Because sometimes we say, I want someone who loves me for me, while at the same time we start editing that version of ourselves to make that relationship easier. But how can someone love the real us if they never have the opportunity to meet us? So being known is the invitation that here I am, this is what matters to me. And when we say I'm fine, that quietly create the distance, because I'm fine might sound very harmless, but sometimes we truly mean that I don't want to make this a thing. I don't know how that person is going to respond. I'd rather keep the peace. I wish we would just know. So every time we hide exactly what is actually happening, we create that tiny space between ourselves and the other person. And the other person may believe it's okay while you are privately accumulating that disappointment. So connection doesn't require us to turn every feeling into the big conversation. However, it does require enough honesty for the other person to actually know where we are. Bruno.
Yeah, um, I think obviously, I think one of the biggest things that people are the most afraid is to show who they are and then you know, being used the things they've been told about against them. I think that's people's most biggest fears. Um, whether you're in a relationship or if it's, family, right? I think people's biggest fear is, I'll show you the way that I am, but then people will use your own problems that you have trusted those people with against them. They will offend them, or they will anything, right? And I think that's, that's real pain. I think real pain is when that happens. And it's really hard. And people hear stories about other people, sometimes friends, family, or online as well. And then people start generalizing, and they think everybody's like that, but not everybody's like that. And I do understand that, when people are angry, typically what happens is that people will say things that maybe if they were calm and at peace they wouldn't say. But that also doesn't really mean anything, because you know your anger should your level of anger should never be to a point where the person you're coming home to every single day has to listen to you, throwing to your face things that you have trusted them with, that are, very, very sensible for them. It's a very sensitive topic, and you just tell them that like it's nothing. When people matter to you, you don't do that. When people don't matter to you, it's different. When people don't matter to you, whatever. Still not right, but they don't matter to you. But when people do matter to you, you shouldn't do that, because if they do matter to you, then it's different. Um, and um, and that's something even I had to learn. You know, that's something even I had to learn. Um, but um, but yeah, I mean, it takes courage to love someone, but it takes more courage to be yourself like that. Because even not long ago, I was that one person. I was the person who believed I'm either going to be myself with the person that I love, or I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be like that. But, you know, what if I am that person, and then in the end, that person may surprise me and just say those things to me, or do those things to me still, right? So I think, like, in the world that we live in nowadays, I wouldn't say there's bigger chances of you ending up hurt than ending up loved. What I'm saying is, I think the chances and the probabilities of finding somebody real and authentic are decreasing by the day. And I only say that because of how the world has turned out to be, and that turned out to become like. Now, I'm also a big believer as well that whatever you focus on is what you're going to get the most of as well. So if you focus on the negatives, you get more negatives. But if you focus on more positives and you notice the positives, you might, yeah, have way more positives as well for you. And also attract more people too that see life the same way as you do, right? I think it's a choice we make, how we want to present ourselves to people. But I think it's also a choice for us to decide what we actually do and what we will do when the most the most terrible outcome can come to play, which is then again people's biggest fear in a relationship coming. More than cheating, more than abandonment, more than lying, more than backstabbing, more than anything, showing yourself as you, the way you are, and then in the end, in a moment of of anger, people just tell you those things to you without really having any consideration for your feelings, which is something you don't do when you love someone, right? That's something you do to a coworker. That's something you do to whatever. Those things come out of you. Who cares, right? But to family or to a loved one, no. Like honestly, to family or loved one, there's no amount of anger. There's no amount of, oh yeah, but I was angry, and when you're angry you say this shit. Yeah, true. When you don't care about the person. right? Because you can be angry at a loved one and you say, like, you can say crazy stuff, which also you shouldn't, right? Of course, in a perfect world. But there's certain things that when we say to our loved ones that can literally cross the line, right? And let's say somebody has problems with anxiety, and then the other person just out of the blue, angry, says this about anxiety and this and that, and the person's like, "Bro, what the fuck?" Like, the problems I have with that, and you're literally saying that as a way to like hurt me, knowing how much I've been hurt by that same thing over and over and over again. Like, are you crazy? That's just an example. It could be anxiety, could be whatever. It's just an example, right? And I think, yeah, to feel seen and to be seen, to be fine with being vulnerable is, for most, is really tough. But it's something you practice every single day, right? I mean, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit. It's as simple as that. If I'm gonna put it on all on the table, then yeah, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna be myself, regardless of who I am with, family, loved one, friends, co-workers. I don't give a solitary shit. Couldn't care less. And that's the way that I live my life. And yeah, that's kind of the way that I live my life. And yeah, whoever likes it likes it. Whoever doesn't like it, great. Relationships and friendships don't last forever either. So I am more than fine with the fact that one day somebody may love you a lot, and then in a moment of anger, people tell you things they shouldn't be telling you, which goes completely against with the amount of love they have for you, and and then it's over, right? And so life moves on, life carries on. Thank fuck, I am also a person who I got used to having people not be very present in my life, a lot of people moving in, moving out, not staying long enough. And so I was always used to having people leave, coming and leaving, and every single person taught me something, at least for myself. Um, and that also helped me to prepare better for the life, in general, where I don't feel sad when people leave. It's the cycle of life, right? So people come, people go, tough shit. And that's what it is, right? But then again, to feel seen is, I think, it takes enormous amounts of bravery for you to show yourself to the world the way that you are, knowing that some people are going to like it and some people are not going to like it. But look, newsflash, they don't have to fucking like it. They don't have to fucking like it because it's not their fucking life; it's your fucking life. And if people, whoever it is, whether if it's love or family, whatever it is, right? If people have a problem with that, they can go fuck themselves, pretty much. And that's it. And as long as you stay you, stay you, stay you, you know, feel seen. Go out there, show yourself the way that you are. There's nothing more attractive than people who show themselves as they are, because it takes balls, it takes a lot of courage. Oh yeah, 100%, totally. Yeah.
Well, this is what I wanted to bring to conversation. First of all, this is the way I look at life. And when we always put the blame on another person and not really looking what caused that person to act a certain way, this is also another level of awareness, right? Because when we talk about relationship, what is relationship? Relationship when two people,
Yeah.
and it's two people part, right? So to say that one person betray and didn't hear and blah blah blah, we always want to go back to ourselves and really scrutinize what have I done? What kind of actions was I demonstrating? What kind of words was I saying in order for another person to act the way that they are acting? This is
Mm,
always good to keep into perspective, because again it's like the reason that things are not working out the way that we desire, it always takes two to tango. And it's not that it's just solely one person fault. We always look at ourselves as well, right? Because there is also a level of contribution from our part as well. So when we are actually learning not to put the responsibility on another person, but also feel responsible for everything what's happened in our life, because the word responsibility comes from the word of response, right? Like response, the ability to respond, not to react to anything what's going on in our life. And when it comes to the relationship, it's super, super cool to be you, regardless whether the person accepts us or not. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to feel miserable because we are betraying ourselves, because we are trying to fit into the picture of what that person actually sees the relationship has to be. Because again, when two people decide to do something together, to be with each other, it's always important to be crystal clear. What is something I intend to create in the relationship, and how am I going to show up in that relationship, right? And the more conscious we become, the more we know exactly what we are creating, right? Enroll each other in their vision. And if they do not have the vision, it's very difficult for the partnership to survive. And it's important to know if your partner is also enrolled in that vision. Because again, sometimes we can have the same vision, but throughout the journey, we see that that vision is no longer serving both of people, and it's so important to accept and recognize, right? And again, do not diminish ourselves because it's not going the way that we desired initially. And again, like I always say, it takes two to tango. So two people, not one person, is responsible for whatever is happening in the relationship. And my invitation is start asking for what we truly want, because when we ask for what we truly want, we create more intimacy. There is something deeply intimate about saying, this is what would feel good to me, whether it's more affection, whether this is more communication, whether this is more quality time, more romance, more reassurance, or anything, whatever you feel like you want to receive more in the partnership. Because when we ask for it boldly, it doesn't mean that we are demanding. We are actually giving someone the access to our inner world. And when we often expect people who love us to instinctively know what exactly we want to allow them more into our world, and we want to express ourselves to the fullest, right? And even showing them how. And exactly when they respond to our initial request, to our initial ask, we can see, like how receptive is partner to everything what we desire. Because being seen requires also the courage to risk a reaction. This is very, very touchy topic, because again, a lot of times we suppress our feelings, our emotions, our desires, because we are not sure how the partner is going to react. But again, if we are going to be afraid, this is also not the relationship. The relationship is when people are open to hear each other, when they are open to understand each other, when they are open to see what the other person has to say, what the other person has to feel, not only just guiding, but their own desires and feeling. So when we become more open, when we actually show what matters to us, that is something when we create a very great bonds with the in the relationship. And again, I am a firm believer that the relationship can be amazing as long as you are with the right partner, as long as you are with the person who is willing to put the work, who is willing to commit, who is not there just to have the right, but actually contributes to that relationship. That's when relationship is going to prosper. Bruno.
Yeah, I mean that's I believe in it as well. Just gonna go back to something you said in the beginning. I know you didn't I just know that I know that you didn't meant it this way.
Hmm.
But obviously, you were saying that yeah, true. Obviously, we always have to look within ourselves, understand. Okay, what did I
Hmm.
do?
Yeah.
That could have created that behavior because it's a relationship, right? Of course. But a lot of times people are not aware of it, and people are not aware of it because the person who has a problem with that behavior hasn't really communicated enough about it, if ever, right? And so
True. True. Yeah. Yeah.
one day the bottle just, right, the screws go all
Hmm.
loose, you go all crazy, crazy, mayday, mayday, we're having problems, right? And the person is like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't even do anything that bad. What's wrong? Oh, you always do this, blah 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 blah. It's like, I always do this. You never complain about it, and now you're complaining. How do I guess you don't say, oh, because you should know, because you should know. Nobody should know anything. This
Absolutely.
this is
Agree.
not. We're not playing guess who. It's not a fucking game. Like
Agree.
you're supposed to communicate to your partner what your fucking problem is. I'm sorry for putting it this way, but you should. And I think also like the same thing is that the same thing is nothing that they do is a reason for you to cheat on them. Nothing. Because if you have lost the attraction, if you don't love them the same way that they loved you, if they cheated on you as well, you don't cheat on them to get back at them. Or you don't abandon them or you don't do anything, even if you feel abandoned. Okay? That's not the right way to do things. Okay? The right way to do things is to go up to them and tell them, I know what you fucking did, or I feel this way in regards to you. I want to put, sorry, I want to put an end to this, right? Because if you get back at them, you're pretty much just showing them that you're like them or worse, right? And
True.
trust me, that is true, right? And trust me, that weighs. That will leave a mark on your conscience, and you'll leave a mark on their conscience as well. You think like if you think that like if you go and you do the same thing to them, you think they're gonna feel bad about themselves or not? They're gonna be like, oh, fine, you did the same fucking thing, so I don't really give a shit. I probably deserved it as well, so it's fine, right? So it's like the most important thing is that you keep your morals straight and you never really break them for anyone, right? Now, people shouldn't have to guess what your morals are. People shouldn't have to guess what your boundaries are. People shouldn't have to guess what your standards are. People shouldn't have to guess what you want, what you desire, how you fucking want it, and when you fucking want it. People shouldn't have to guess a fucking thing about it. You should say it in the beginning so people know it from the get go. Not in the middle of it, not by the end of it, right in the beginning, right? People treat you as they see you. First impressions last, no matter if it's business, no matter if it's friendships, no matter if it's family, no matter if it's love. And that's it, first impressions last. And when I mean first impressions, I'm not saying like, oh, so I have to be impressive. No, you have to be your fucking self. And being your fucking self is then again what we talk about when we talk about daring to be seen, right? Is being yourself and being able to have the courage and the ability to show yourself that way. Because you can get a response from people instead of assuming what they tell you because you never fucking said it. And this is why you always, you open up about it. You open up, right? So, and I'll just touch on one more topic before I end my part. Very brief as well. I've had a lot of people that tell me, I've had a lot of people who told me that's all fine, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to communicate. I don't know how to make my point. I don't know what to say when I'm having that conversation. I've never done this before, and I don't know. And my response to that is, I understand, but like everything that you do is one step at a time, right? And so don't generalize everything that you're going to say and make it a huge bubble, and then you forget what you're going to say. Just go step by step, go point by point, right? Go point by point. Uh, you know, if you need to practice what you're going to say, practice what you're going to say. Just practice it. If it's something truly important for you that you're going to do or say, and you don't know how to do it by impulse, you don't know how to do it, on the moment, then practice. Write it down. Write down what you think you want to say, and then write down the full thing. And if you gotta have like a lot of scratch cards, have a lot of scratch cards, but just nail down what you want to fucking say. You know, don't romanticize and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna write all this, but when the time comes, I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm not even gonna say that. I'm probably just gonna say what comes to my mind. If you were to say what comes to your mind, you probably wouldn't know what to say in the moment. So just write down what you want to say. Practice. Say it out loud. See how it feels. Right? Like nobody is born knowing how to speak. Nobody is born knowing how to talk. Nobody is born knowing how to make your point across. Those are things that you practice. Those are things that come with time. You gotta start somewhere. Write down what you want to fucking say, and then say it. That was what helped me. I don't know what helped with Irina. I don't know, but that was what helped me. Right.
Mhm.
And although I was quite blessed because I come from a very argumentative family, so we've always known how to make our points across, and we speak with a lot of passion as well. I'm Portuguese, so that's what we do, right? I definitely do not come from a cold culture. I come from a very, very, very passionate culture. We are very passionate people. When we speak with a passion. And yeah, so that kind of helped. But if you just don't know, write it down. Write down what you'd like to say. Just write it down. Write it down. And then when you write it down, whether you say it exactly word by word of of what you want to say, or you say it in another way, you get somewhere more than you get somewhere further than never being able to say nothing because you don't know what to say, and you never really grow up out of that. You never really evolve out of that, you know. So, and that's the thing. Like, this is not just for relationship. This is also for dating, you know. Because if you want to tell a guy or a girl how you feel, but you don't know how to say it, and the guy is like, "Oh my god," or the girl is, "Oh my god," or whatever it is, right? And you're never able to put your point across. Well, you're gonna miss out on a great person. You're gonna miss out on the person you think is for you. Why? Because you never found a way to like express your feelings. Write it down. Write it down. Simple. Divide it by bullet points. Write down how you feel, and then just see how you're gonna say it. If you're gonna even say it. Pronto. That's it. Simple. That's what I think. What I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. But don't forget people who never were
Yeah. Yeah.
able to express themselves, right? For us, it's easy because we kind of always
That's
doing
why
that.
I'm saying to write it down. That's why I'm saying to
Yeah.
write it down because it's easier.
But even, like, obviously, the best tip that I can give is just to be in the right moment and when we can invite them to have the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Just if we prepare ourselves. And again, it can be scary because sometimes people are so used to be in the relationship that they want to be accepted at any cost, and this is something that actually costing them the peace, the happiness, and everything what they could experience in a life. Because when we become vulnerable, it doesn't mean that we start reshaping ourselves until someone approves of us. The goal isn't how do I say this so they won't leave. Again, why do people don't express themselves? Because they are afraid to be rejected, right? They are afraid to be, like turned around, right? So the better question would be, can I be honest enough to discover whether we actually fit? Even when we talk about, like somebody could be in the long relationship, even in the marriage. And I know that sometimes it's super scary because we are so afraid to step into unknown. But the more we learn how to have these communication, how to have this conversation, we actually create that space for being seen more deeply and create more depth and intimacy with the partner.
Mm.
So it's all about just be you, be valuable, and it's not about being accepted. It's about for the relationship knowing who am I in that relationship, and don't feel like you have to disappear because like you are always there for the partner and you are minimizing yourself just to fit into that picture.
Yep.
All right, you want to add the last word before we wrapping up?
Not really, no. I think we said everything. There's not really
Mm-hmm.
much to talk about. I think we touched on great points. Um, I think we touched on great points. Yeah, and I think, look, just be yourself. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I think, just be yourself. It's easier to say than done, but you gotta practice. You have to
Mm-hmm.
practice. Everything in life is practice. It will never make you perfect, but it will make you progress, you know? And
Yep.
what maybe a week or 2 weeks ago felt harder, now it's a bit easier. And then 2 weeks go by, it's even easier. And then a month goes by, and you're like, fuck, I feel like I've mastered this. And then you fuck up, and then you're like, shit, I'm back to ground zero. But in the next 3 months, you evolve more than you evolved the first month, where you had to restart, but then you broke through the exact same place where you failed, and then you become better. Like that's what it is. It's up, down, up, down, up, down. My advice is look, as long as you bounce back from every like fall you have, you'll be fine. Because when you bounce back, you're bouncing back to the person you are with more to gain than to lose, because you'll never gain enough to a point where you have done everything and have done anything. You'll never do everything and anything, you know? So, and there's no perfect way of being. There's no such thing as a perfect way of being. I mean, I speak for myself. I'm everything but perfect. I mean, I'm calm now, but a couple hours ago, I was like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, right? So, and it is what it is. It's like I'm being vulnerable with you right now. I'm being myself. I'm always myself. I'm always vulnerable. But look, I spent 17, 18 years being everybody's bitch. To put it this way, that's the truth. I spent 17 to 18 years of my life being everybody's bitch, being everybody's puppet. One day I said, fuck you. And that was it. And since then, I just, every single day I practice being more of myself, practice being more of myself. And the beauty about practicing being more of yourself is that there is no specific way of you being yourself, because you're always adding things to your character, you're always adding things to your personality, you're always learning, you're always learning new things. You don't know the day of tomorrow, but tomorrow you might learn something that now you want to be like more. you know let's say you want to learn a new language and you become obsessed with it, and now all you want to do is speak that language, right? Or whatever it is, or you want to do a sport or whatever. It's things that become a part of you, right? So there's no specific way, there's no such thing as this is how you are yourself, because being yourself means a lot of things, you know like when I'm angry, I'm myself in my own way of being angry. When I'm at peace, I'm myself in my own way of being at peace. When I'm fulfilled or happy, I'm in my own way of being fulfilled and happy. right? So just different ways. It just really depends, right? The most important thing is that you act on what you desire, right? And then everything unfolds. Whatever's meant for you can never pass you by. I'm a big believer in that. So,
All right, on that note, we are gonna wrap it up. So if anybody feels that this is the insightful episode, please share with somebody who might be looking for this conversation. And again, we are all here on the discovery journey. We don't have all the answers, but as long as we are willing to test, we are willing to explore, that's the beauty of life. And again, continue understanding yourself better, because once you understand yourself better, you're going to attract the partner who matches who you are. All right, all the best, and we'll see you next week. Bye.